He told the doctor to save his mother first, even if his own life fell apart right after. No one in that hospital knew that the quiet man standing there ruled a world built on fear, and no one expected that love would be the thing that finally broke him open. The hospital hallway froze when the nurse said the word wait. His mother's hand trembled in his, thin as paper, cold with fear, and the smell of sharp disinfectant burned the back of his throat. The doctor looked past him, already moving on, already choosing someone else. In that moment, something dangerous stirred behind the calm eyes of Kong Min-jae, a man who had ended wars with a single nod. But here, in this place of rules and forms and clipped voices, he did nothing. He bowed his head. He waited, and the world held its breath. Min-jae stood out without trying. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in simple black, his posture straight, as if his spine had been trained by years of command. There was a quiet gravity around him, the kind that made people step aside without knowing why. His face carried old lines that did not belong to his age, marks left by nights without sleep, and choices that could not be undone. Yet, in this bright hospital corridor, he was just a son holding his mother's arm, watching her pain flicker behind a brave smile. Across the hall, a young intern paused mid-step. Her skin was deep and warm in tone, glowing under the harsh lights. Her eyes met his for half a second, long enough for her to see something others missed. She did not see a threat. She saw worry. She saw restraint. She saw love held tightly in check. Her name was Amara Williams, and she was new, still learning how to survive a system that often asked her to move fast and feel nothing. Min-jae's story did not begin in a hospital. It began decades earlier in a narrow apartment where rain leaked through the ceiling and hunger was a constant guest. His mother worked until her hands cracked and bled, cleaning other people's homes, bowing to people who never learned her name. His father disappeared early, swallowed by debt and bad luck. From a young age, Min-jae learned that the world did not reward kindness. It rewarded strength, silence, and loyalty. As a boy, he smelled damp concrete and cheap noodles. He heard his mother cough late at night, trying not to wake him. He felt shame burn in his chest when landlords shouted and neighbors looked away. When the streets offered him power, he took it, telling himself it was temporary, telling himself it was for her. One job became another. One favor turned into command. He learned how fear worked, how men bowed faster to threats than to words. Each step forward took him further from the boy he had been, and closer to a man no one questioned. Years passed in smoke-filled rooms and cold decisions. He lost friends, buried enemies, and watched his name grow heavy with meaning. Yet every morning, he sent money to his mother. Every week, he visited her, sitting quietly, listening to her talk about the weather and the past. She never asked where the money came from. She never asked what he had become. She only told him to eat well and sleep more. Her love was the last place where he did not have to be a boss. Now that love lay fragile on a hospital bed, tethered to machines and hope. The conflict here was different. There were no threats to make, no doors to break down. There were rules, protocol, forms to sign. People who held power not because they were strong, but because they were placed there. When Min-jae tried to explain that his mother's pain had worsened overnight, the words landed flat. He was told others were ahead of them. He was told to wait. Around them, people watched and said nothing. Some looked at his clothes and assumed danger. Others looked at his face and felt unease, without understanding why. No one spoke up. Silence thickened, pressing against his ribs. His mother squeezed his hand, her grip weak but steady, as if reminding him who he was supposed to be here, the intern. Amara moved through the hall with a tablet clutched to her chest. She had learned quickly how to keep her head down. As a black woman in a place where she was often the only one, she knew the cost of standing out. She had been mistaken for cleaning staff, spoken over, doubted. Still, something about the stillness of this man pulled at her. She noticed how he adjusted his mother's blanket with care, how he listened more than he spoke. As tension stretched, a nurse snapped that visiting hours were over. The words cut sharp. Min-jae felt the old instinct rise, the one that told him to end this now. His jaw tightened, his hands curled, then relaxed. He remembered his mother's voice telling him that real strength did not need to shout. He stayed silent. Amara hesitated, then stepped closer. She spoke gently, suggesting a quick check, a small mercy. Her voice did not carry authority, but it carried conviction. She was brushed aside, told to follow procedure. The dismissal stung her, but she did not retreat. She looked at Min-jae again, and this time, he nodded once. It was not a command, it was gratitude. Minutes dragged. The smell of antiseptic mixed with sweat and fear. Min-jae felt time slipping through his fingers. He reached into his pocket, touching a worn ring, a habit when he needed grounding. It was his father's, useless and precious. Amara noticed the gesture, the way his eyes softened when he looked at his mother. She felt a strange calm settle between them, a shared understanding born in silence. Then the shift came, quiet but unstoppable. A senior doctor entered, stopping short when he saw me. Recognition flickered, not of his face, but of his presence. Somewhere, a call had been made. Somewhere, a name had traveled, not as a threat, but as a fact. The system adjusted itself. The doctor asked questions, real ones this time. Tests were ordered. The tone changed. Nurses moved faster. The air felt lighter. Min-jae said nothing. He did not need to. His silence filled the space with authority earned, not demanded. As his mother was taken in, she looked back at him. Pride and fear mingled in her eyes. He bowed his head to her, a promise without words. Amara watched, her chest tight. She realized then that power did not always announce itself. Sometimes it waited, patient and restrained, until it was needed. Hours later, when the danger had passed, Min-jae sat alone in the waiting room. The lights buzzed softly. Amara approached, offering water. Their conversation was simple, careful. He thanked her. She shrugged it off, saying it was just her job. But their eyes held longer than necessary, curiosity sparking. In the days that followed, Min-jae returned often. His mother recovered slowly, each step a small victory. Amara checked on her when she could, drawn by a sense of duty that felt personal. They spoke about ordinary things, food, weather, the city. He never spoke of his world. She never asked. Between them grew something fragile and dangerous. A connection built on mutual respect. One afternoon, as sunlight spilled through the windows, Amara told him that silence could be loud, that sometimes, not fighting was the bravest choice. Min-jae listened, feeling something shift inside him. He had lived his life believing fear was the strongest tool. Here was proof that care could be stronger. When his mother was discharged, she took Amara's hands, thanking her with tears. She told her that her son was a good man. Min-jae felt his throat tighten. He had not heard those words directed at him in years. The resolution came not with spectacle, but with quiet change. Min-jae began to loosen his grip on the world he ruled. He delegated. He stepped back. He spent more time in places where his name meant nothing. With Amara he learned how to be present without armor. He learned that love did not ask him to conquer, only to choose. The hospital hallway returned to its usual rhythm, unaware of the transformation it had witnessed. But for those who were there, something lingered, a reminder that dignity does not need noise, that respect can shift systems, that unseen battles are fought every day by people who choose restraint over rage. In the end, Min-jae stood by his mother's window, watching her tent plants, her laughter light. Amara stood beside him, their shoulders almost touching. He thought of a line that had guided him through darkness. True power is the strength to protect without destroying. Another followed, softer. Love is the courage to change. The story leaves us with a question worth carrying. How many silent heroes walk past us every day, choosing patience over fury, care over control? If this story moved you, share where you are watching from. Share what silent strength means to you, and stay with us for more stories that honor the power of quiet dignity and unseen courage.